Hey, what's up out there? Thanks for tuning in. I want to talk about my diet here. Since I started, posting things on OnlyFans, there's been so many super kind messages, and a lot of them are about my diet. What do I eat in order to perform, or how did I get the body that I have? And it kind of seen it on other social platforms, so I wanted to make a video where I explain. I am a bachelor in health and nutrition. I am a dietitian, so it's obviously something I care a lot about. In 2014, I missed out on the Olympic Games by 1 second in the 5,000 meter event. That's very little. And back then, I was a teenager. I didn't optimize everything and, live for skating the same way I do now, 10, 12 years later. And I immediately realized, wow, there were so many ways I could have found that second, and just made that promise to myself, like, I cannot ever let that happen. How do you learn more about nutrition? You get a degree in it, which I did. So it's kind of cool being my own dietitian, and I think I managed to do it in a pretty simple way where it doesn't feel like too much of a strain, and I don't have to actually force it too much or spend too much energy thinking about what I eat when I eat it, simply by a set of rules that I think can just be like nice guidelines, probably for you guys as well. You don't have to be an elite athlete to eat well and eat in a way that allows your body to, grow muscle or get lean to the point where you are as functional as you can be in terms of getting the most out of your body. And that's what I'm going to share in this video. So the first thing I try and do is I still try and stay with 3 daily meals. That's a lot easier, especially if you have family or social groups where you want to go out and have dinner with them or whatnot. So that way you're not changing your overall life too much. So I eat breakfast, I eat lunch, I eat dinner, and then in between I eat a little bit before and after, sometimes during every single workout I do. Now when we look at these meals, the main 3 meals, I know that a lot of nutritionists and dietitians would recommend something called the Y plate, where it's separated in 5, where you have 2/5, so 40% of carbohydrates, and you have 40% of vegetable, fruit, fiber-ish stuff, salad, and then you have the final 20% of meat or some type of protein, eggs or fish. But I live by something called the E plate. I like to think of E as elite, where instead I divide my plate into something that would look a little like an E. And the idea of that is that half of that, so 50%, is gonna be carbohydrates, say potatoes, pasta, rice, you name it. It could even be pizza dough. I love pizza. I have a pizza oven right out there in the balcony. So half of that is gonna be that, and then 25% of it is gonna be protein, so a little higher than the standard plate, and then the final 25 is gonna be vegetables, fruits, fibers. Some people may think like, oh, I thought you were healthier. Why wouldn't you eat more vegetables? I take multivitamins. I use, liposomal supplements from Orleek that make sure I have the minerals, the vitamins, and all that to be functional. So the only reason you would need these vegetables is to get you filled up. That's the fibers. And if you train as much as I do, you eat as much as I do, you don't want to be over full. And I don't really think I'm gonna overeat to that point. So instead I just wanna feel light and agile when I'm out training. So this is the plate I go by for my 3 major meals in the day. Being married to a professional skater kind of makes it a little easier also to have a high focus on good food and good meals. So those are the 3 main meals. I do the same for all 3 meals during the day. Obviously, say in the morning, if I have an oatmeal, it won't be vegetables or fruits, could be topping, but the fibers would come from the fact that oats contains a lot of dietary fiber. And then I would just drop some honey on that and maybe pop a boiled egg or an egg into it. I know that sounds a little weird, but things that are similar but less crazy. Then for all the meals in between, I mostly prioritize carbohydrates. It's the best fuel for the body. That is the one you can process into energy and be efficient. So before, during workouts, mainly carbohydrates. After, a mix of carbs and protein, is actually what I wrote my bachelor in. So it's a thing I'm very keen on staying by kinda, is that after workouts, I get 80% of carbohydrates and then 20% to 25% of protein, which I think is less protein than most people realize. And yes, I am a big believer in using that kind of window of recovery opportunity where you get your recovery meal or snack right after a workout. This was also a thing I looked into as I wrote my bachelor thesis, that if you get your glycogen, so your carbohydrates, basically stores, like replenish or basically eat carbs right after your workout or your competition, say 8 hours later, you're gonna have 40% more glycogens or more readily available carbohydrates for you to use, compared to if instead of eating right after, you eat 2 hours later. So that's gonna be delayed. And that's a massive percentage that you can use in the second workout of the day, or just to recover faster for the next day. So do eat right after workout, some snack, 80% carbs, 20% protein. Now those are just in terms of the content of these things. If we look at the timing, and I would argue more importantly, how to actually, set all these things up, the quantity, knowing how much of the different things to eat. Well, most of my season, say entire off season, I have competitions from November till March that I care about, that are either World Cups, championships, or the Olympics. And this is where I need to have a body that looks like the thumbnail you saw for this video. It's where I am right now, where I feel that I'm lean enough to go fast. I know that my perfect racing weight is between 79 and 84 kilos, and I try and stay within that range for the racing season. Before then, I don't really care as long as I have enough energy. I know I can lose sufficient amount of fat within a month and a half, 2 months, to be perfectly ready to race. So until then, it's just make sure you always have enough energy available. And when I get within 2 months of my competition, that's where I start limiting my total energy intake. I want to highlight, this is only if you're an adult, and it's only if you're highly competitive in a sport that I think this is a must. If you're still growing, if you're a teenager, then let your body grow, eat as much as you need, obviously healthy, but don't limit yourself in terms of quantity. So what I do is that I go at first, I get 1800 calories per day, in addition to the amount of calories I burn in my workout, which I track through heart rate monitors, power pedals, etc. I do that for the first period until I reach 33% of the total weight loss goal that I want to achieve. Then I move on to 2000 calories per day, excluding the ones I burn in my workouts, and then 2200. And once I make that goal, I go back to eating so that I maintain my weight. I use a cool scale called Hume Health that also measures your body fat percentage. So if I am ever to lose muscle, that's where I realize, okay, we're pretty close to the limit, because I don't want to use that. Skating is, you've seen my legs, they're big and powerful, because they have to be. Skating is almost a sprint. I'm a long distance skater, but it takes 6 minutes for me to skate a 5K. You still have to put some serious power out there. So I cannot sacrifice my muscle. That's where the limit goes, and that's why I obviously don't want to get skinnier than that. But I can fairly easily get below 10% body fat and quite a bit under there before I start losing muscle and just daily energy. So that's how I do it. The off season, I do not care at all. I just enjoy, good beers, wine, and ice cream on a daily basis for 2 weeks, and I get a little more extra to keep me warm through the spring, and also just to mentally relax. Like, having a surplus of energy is good for mood, bone density. There's a million reasons why the ideal body fat percentage for males are 16 to 20%, or if not even higher. So I know it shouldn't be a sustainable thing, but as long as I skate professionally, I'll try and look like a professional and have that body. In terms of the timing of the meals, ideally I eat 3 hours before my workout or my event. So when I'm on the ice at 8 in the morning, I'm not gonna wake up at 4:30 to prepare a 5 a.m. breakfast. I just make sure to eat a little more the night before and slightly lighter breakfast, so it's not all up on the ice after 5 minutes of intervals. And those are really just the rules I kind of go by. When I'm out training for longs, a bike ride, I have some sugar in my water bottle. I use Powerade. I think it's an awesome product. They have just about everything, and that way I always know it before, say, an important event. You're not gonna play around with your nutrition game plan. And when it comes to supplements, there are some things that can make it easier. I do use additional protein powder when I'm in this phase of cutting my weight, simply because studies show that if you get a little more protein than the 0.8 grams per kilo body weight. There is a bigger chance that you're gonna maintain muscle and lose fat. I use creatine to bulk up in the summer season, and then I stop 2 months before racing, simply to lose the 2 kilos, more or less, of body weight that comes with the water you store. And then I use beta-alanine for 8 to 12 weeks leading up to a race. I take 5 grams divided in 5 daily portions. That's a lot of work, but it is worth it. It's a lactic acid buffer. It makes you go a little longer. Same for bicarb, except that one works instantly. So I do take bicarb 95 minutes before my race. I take 25 grams of bicarb, like sodium bicarbonate as a supplement. That's horrible. But it does work. Done some studies, done some tests myself. 6 double-sided blinded studies on a bike where I improved my 2-minute power by 27 watts in average over all the tests using bicarb sodium. So that's one that I recommend as well. Use Martin, not sponsored, but that brand is really good. Or Flycarb. Those are the 2 I'm familiar with that are, you know, top tier and will be good for your stomach. I obviously take multivitamins from Orleek. I get most of my supplements. They're liposomal, meaning it takes it all the way through your stomach without, you know, digestive enzymes killing it halfway through, and it goes in the bloodstream where you want it. And you know, omega-3 if I don't get my daily salmon, which is not always available or cheap. And then ashwagandha, 600 to 1200 milligrams every single night. That's just good for cortisol levels. So relaxed when I take that. So definitely something I've done in a long time, and I'll continue doing. And you know, Ketone IQ is fantastic. It's the world's leading brand in terms of exogenous ketones, that you don't have to go on a crazy diet to go into ketosis, but you can just take that ketone, so a whole new type of fuel that can spare you from using your glycogen, which that's a win. And yeah, that's all I do when it comes to nutrition. I love making pizzas. That's honestly, I think people underrate. It's like the greatest carb load that tastes good, and get a little bit of salt also to hold on to your water. And that's probably my final piece of advice here. If you have any questions, my DM here in OnlyFans is open for you. And yeah, comment on the video. I just love getting more in touch with you guys. So want to know what you like and what you want from me. That's what I'm here for. It's really just for me to get closer with you guys and throw some sick content from my whole skating life. It's pretty sweet. All right, see you for the next video. Any questions, hit me up. And yeah, I hope we got sort of around the whole thing. You know, food is a complicated thing, but I think if you play it smart, and it shouldn't be. All right, see ya.